All right, what is going on? How y'all doing out there in Uncle Steve's Lounge today on a Sunday, 6:30, July 10th? Folks, we are a little bit less than 3 weeks away from a little less than 3 weeks away from training camp starting up. So now rhetoric, talk, and all that other good stuff is getting ready to kick in, and just glad to see everyone uh, getting a little bit hyped. Notice the posts have been growing on Atlanta Bird Gang, which we are happy to broadcast in there as well with many of our friends. We appreciate our folks in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Like I see you, brother Roger. How you doing, man? Good to see you out there today. My brother Dre, always Natalie dressed and looking good for the screen there. What's going on, my brother? I have this is that time, that dead space right after the last OTAs where we start talking about wins, losses, and are we going to be able to compete and things of that nature. I I've just really start looking at this thing, and I'm trying to wonder, are we and this, listen, this is not fooling myself into saying that we are a well-oiled machine ready to go and compete with the best of the best. But I do have to ask myself, in a watered down NFC, is it really that hard for the Falcons to make the playoffs this year? We're going to go over that in a couple of seconds, but I just don't think it is. Brother Rusty, how you doing, my friend? Good to see you as always in Atlanta Bird Gang. Thank you for joining us. My brother Falstart, how you doing, man? Good to see you in Uncle Steve's Lounge. Please don't forget, tell everybody to go over there and punch a button for free for somebody to, for somebody to get subscribed over there and help us get monetized so we can get some other things started and talk some other things Atlanta Falcons with y'all. What's going on, my brother? How you doing, Senqua? Good to see you, man. Say it's not. And listen, I'm going to just talk about it with us today. I mean, I really looked at what the NFC is right now. And of course, it's easy for us to talk about, things before everything kick off. We have injuries. We have probably a couple of trades and cuts that are going to be made with certain rosters. So we can't be 100%. But I just did want to talk about it for just a minute. I'm getting ready to pull this up in a second. Dre says the Braves walk off today, man. They kind of scared me a little bit, man. Washington, they have no business letting Washington hang around that long. But nevertheless, they did finish up Washington Nationals and get the sweep. Atlanta Braves are rolling. We will really test ourselves this week. Matt Scherzer will go up against Max Fried tomorrow. That should be really good for the Atlanta Braves. Hopefully we can it's almost scary because I know we're hot right now. And man, it's almost like, yeah, are y'all peaking right now? Or do y'all want to save that like they did last time? Last time they kind of came on strong near the end and finished things off. So I do hope the Braves save a little bit of that in there. I'm going to pull up a screen. I'm going to pull up the screen from last year's NFC real quick. And I'm bringing it up not to focus on what happened last year, because as we know in the NFL, things change. Teams, from year to year, you have about 3 or 4 teams that'll stay where they are. 3 or 4 teams will drop off, and it's just, you just never know how it's going to work out. But I just want to go over it one good time with you all. Hey, Lisa, how you doing? Good to see you in the house today. That is awesome. Roger said, love the D-line signing. Yes, sir. That's going to be good. I know everybody's a little concerned about the moves we made with another Chicago Bear, but y'all got to remember, Ryan Pace came from Chicago, so that's going to be that's going to be the source of a lot of stuff right now because he probably knows those guys and he can get those guys on, real, probably on the cheap. Rusty says, I'm not going to lie. I'm excited for the season, but I'm not feeling the Marcus Mariota experiment. I know he's a bridge quarterback, but we ain't winning the Super Bowl this year, regardless of who the quarterback is. Marcus might give us the best chance to win week 1, but I really want to see if Ritter is the guy or not. MM not giving me, yeah, MM is giving me, vibes. And listen, I think if you go into the long term of the Atlanta Falcons, I'm 100% with you. There is nothing in the last couple of years on the bench in Las Vegas that Marcus Mariota has showed me to make me think that he's the future of the Atlanta Falcons. That being said, I think a couple of things are at play. One, the Falcons have been stuck in the mud. 7-9, 7-9, 4-12, 7-10. I don't have to tell you how much that frustrates a fan base. I'm pretty sure the players are a lot more frustrated up there as well. All I want Marcus Mariota to do, if he wins the job coming out of training camp, is to give this team the best chance of winning. I'm trying to take it one step at a time. And I wrote Rusty is a good example because Rusty's a deep fan, and I know he pays attention to this more. Which would you rather have? And we'll pose this question later on as the season goes. Would you rather have a successful Mariota to take us to a winning season this year and knowing that you got Ritter on the bench? Or would you take a Ritter season where he's going to be 3-14 and we're not sure of what the future is going to be with him? And I know those are two different extremes, but I guess my bigger point is if Mariota can win, I'm riding. If Mariota, Lord forbid, gets hurt for a while and Ritter twists his ankle and Felipe Franks wins 8-9 games and gets close to the playoffs, I'm a Falcon fan. I don't care. As long as you win. So for Mariota step, but I get your point. I'm not skimming over the point that you're making. You're right. There's nothing about Marcus Mariota that makes me think, oh yeah, Falcons future. But if he's slated to start game 1 and he could slap the mess out of the Saints in that week 1 and get us the win, that's a good start. That's a start we haven't had in this city since 2017, winning the first game. So I want to take that one step at a time. I want to get to that competition first. Let's see who really looks good in those 3 preseason games. And then when we get to week 1, I'll be ready for that. All-Star says, people forget Chicago had a solid team minus the quarterback. And that's the thing. Dude, do y'all remember Mitch Trubisky was the one that actually should have beat the Saints? And was it Philadelphia? Should have beat Philadelphia. He had an all-world defense and couldn't do anything with it. And who are we getting from them? Defensive pieces. I'll take it. Senqua says, if they stick to the philosophy of improving the defense and controlling the clock, we'll be fine. Number 1, offenses do not win Super Bowls. 2016 taught us that. And that's true, too. I think one of the things I like about what they're doing right now, while, of course, the main focus is going to be Mariota versus Ritter, slowly but surely, I know the 1-year contracts with some of the defensive guys might not be, sexy or whatever, but you are we're slowly bringing in some young folks at some of these key positions. A couple more young folks on the defensive line, couple of linebackers that we're finally bringing in. Trying to see what Richie Grant is going to do this upcoming year. Still to Sinqua's point about building this defense. And not only that, maybe even putting some pieces through the offensive line. I have a sneaky suspicion they're not finished with the offensive line either. They probably are finished for the moment, but I don't think they're completely done. So while we're going through the Mariota Ritter thing, which is not costing us money right now, remember that. And if we were to dip down back into the draft next year for a quarterback, it's not going to cost us a lot of money. You got most quarterbacks and most teams, there's $30 million, $40 million in the hole. And then let me remind y'all of something else. Somebody, I was telling this to my son. If the Mariota or Ritter thing doesn't work out, guess who else is out there on the horizon? This was put on Lamar Jackson's Twitter page in his nicely formed grill. I need money. I'm not trying to tell you Lamar Jackson is the end all be all, but I am telling you he's a lot better than 75% of what's in the NFL. If the Baltimore Ravens are foolish enough to let him go through the whole season and not sign him, and we have a salary cap that has over $100 million next year, why not? Why not? It would solve a lot of problems. Dondre says, Steve, is Julio a health risk? And that's why people won't sign him. I think that's part of it. I was really kind of shocked that he didn't end up sticking around with Tennessee. But, Mark Vrabel, remember that first game he had when Julio got them the penalty and he was kind of really ticked and called him out? Julio is probably like, yeah, I don't know if I want to deal with that or not. I'm not sure. Leroy says, no, I already said, not knowing Matt would not be here, that the Falcons will win an additional 2 games like they did last year and winning 2 extra games from the year before. But even after Matt being here, enough moves were made to give P some pieces to work with and Arthur to create more plays. MM just has to be serviceable. And that's kind of a good point, Chris, because I think we don't need Aaron Rodgers, I think, on this team to win. We don't need Pat Mahomes, I think, to be a team that's competing in the NFC. So let me pull that list back up again. I had gone to it one time. Let me go back here again. In the NFC, and this is last year's standings. I just want to pull that up just for a visual. If you look at this, of all the teams in the NFC, and I think I'm missing a couple of them down there, Detroit and New York, which they probably don't deserve to be on the list anyway. Who on this list do you say is pretty much a lock for this year and the playoffs? I'll go right off the rip and say the Rams and the 49ers. I think the Rams and the 49ers are the 2 best teams in the NFL, period. And I know that, I'm not in NFL, I'm sorry, in the NFC. I think, honestly, they're in a tier by themselves. Los Angeles and San Francisco are 2 of the most close to complete teams in the NFL. San Francisco's quarterback situation, which obviously is important, is pretty much a lot. But when you think about it, those 2 teams are the 2 that I say, yeah, go ahead and pencil them in. And I know they're in the same division, but as you see, that didn't matter. They ended up in the NFC Championship game. I know some people are going to say Green Bay right off the rip, but you know what? Green Bay lost a lot of wide receivers. They still have their running game. I was surprised they re-signed their running back. So they still have some good pieces around them. They got the little tight end that showed up last year. But Green Bay is in a slightly weaker division, so it's kind of easier for you to probably say maybe a notch. But they're still, to me, on that second tier behind the Rams and 49ers. Rams and 49ers, their defenses alone make them top. Tampa Bay is in the NFC South, which is a clear advantage to them because with Tom Brady coming back, all the free agents that are taking less money took a big, deep sigh because they know that Tom Brady is going to be back and that's going to help them. So I would put Tampa Bay there, not because I think they're the best team in the NFC. I don't. It's because they're in the NFC South. And that's it. I know somebody's going to say, Steve, you left out Dallas. No, I didn't. Dallas was in an awful division, and they should have run away with it more than they did. And Dallas lately has gotten to the crunch time. And those crunch time games don't seem like they're the team. So really, I that's 4 teams right now that I say, excuse me, are, I don't want to say locks, but they're close to locks. Rams, 49ers, Green Bay, and Tampa Bay. Look at the rest of the NFC. Somebody's got to come out of the East. And if that's Dallas, so be it. Somebody's going to come out of the East. Dallas, Philly, one of those two. But it's not like they're head and shoulders above everybody else. Go down the line. Arizona. They got 8 games. They're not going to have D-Hop this year. You see what happened without him last year. And I know they made some moves to improve that situation. But I don't know. Kyler Murray, do you trust him yet? Exciting. Flash in the pan for a couple of times. But is he there? Is he good enough for the long haul? Sounds familiar here, doesn't it? Philadelphia Eagles, again, kind of in the same boat as Dallas, kind of fighting for the one position. New Orleans Saints. I'm telling anybody who wants to listen to me, I don't care how much talent they have on that team. Sean Payton is gone. That culture is going to be missed. Sean Payton had a culture at the Saints that had them cats winning when they weren't supposed to win. They're going to miss that. I hear everyone talk about the talent. That's true. But I really think they're going to take a step back this year. I'm not telling you Cam Jordan not going to get his sacks. I'm not telling you Kamara, when he's able to play, is not going to still do the things that he do. I'm not saying Michael Thomas is going to come back and not be good. And I'm definitely not even telling you crab legs won't come and throw for 5,000 yards again. But the culture is different. That bully on the block that they were in the NFC South, that stuff is gone. Witnessed by a hapless roster in Atlanta beating them last year. So I'm not feeling them either. Minnesota, is there anything? I love Jefferson, love Thielen. Kirk Cousins, what did my man say earlier? Well, Washington Commanders, they get Chase Young back, which is great. But they got Carson Wentz. And there's a reason why Carson Wentz ended up being there. I'm not even going to the rest of the teams, Seattle, Chicago, Carolina, Giants. They're all. So my point is, what makes us any worse than the teams I just named? And the teams I'm talking, Philly, New Orleans, Vikings, Commanders, Arizona. Are we that much worse than them? And just like Chris just said a few minutes ago, I mean, we won 7 games with nothing. Arthur Smith cobbled up some stuff and won 2 games. 7 games. So to his point, with another year in the system, Dean Pease, another year with young cats in that defense, it should be trending up. I see everybody else in publications has us down. Vegas has us winning only 4 games this year. I just don't see it. I think it's a coin flip for the majority of the rest of the season. sans those teams that that I was telling you guys about. Okay, let's go back up here. Sorry about that. Let me go back down. Sorry about that. Sequel says the Rams and the Packers. Yeah, I'm still not 100% on the Packers. That is one of the teams that I pick as a lock, not because they're so great. I still think they're a tier below the Rams and the 49ers in my opinion. He also says 49ers are questionable until they figure out Deebo Samuels and Jimmy G. Deebo is going to play. Deebo went to camp. If Deebo went to camp, he's going to play. Jimmy G, not trying to be funny, they did it in spite of him last year. They did it in spite of him. San Francisco, which again, that's pretty crappy just because we just finished talking about Chicago. Aside of the quarterback position, Frisco is deep. I like Frisco's situation. Paul Star says several teams will take a step back this year. Dre says the Panthers are doomed. Yeah, that Baker Mayfield thing, I just don't know. I'm not feeling it. Yes, everyone says Bucks because of Brady. I am 100% with you. Brady twists the ankle or takes a deep hit where he's out, they're done. Christian, how you doing, my friend? What's going on? Hey, and shout out to JD today. I saw JD at Texas Roadhouse down in Henry County, and he stopped me and said, "I recognize you, brother," and I just appreciate him shouting me out, man. And good luck to you, man. Simple says the East never had repeat champs for over 10 years. Yeah, the East. Yeah, I'm so not impressed with the NFC East, and I know I can't talk because we couldn't beat Dallas, we couldn't beat Philly. You know, we had a horrible. We couldn't beat Washington. As a matter of fact, Giants. I think the only one we won against last year. That was last year. I think if we had a redo in the East this year, I would flip it to 3-1. Maybe with the Dallas game, we were just overpowered in that game, but every other game we should have won. It also says Sean Payton gone. Jameis Winston's never made the playoffs. Nothing but facts. That's why I say when I see people are ready to just say, "Oh, Sean Payton is gone." That's a huge man. Remember when Sean Payton got suspended and Joe Vitt was running the team? Did you see how they responded? And then they came back the next year when Sean came back there and kicked everybody's behind. Sean Payton is a man. Sean Payton is a beast. They said crab legs are still hurt. He would not be the same last year. He tried to put on a video that was showing him throw the ball, and that was great and that was fine. But to your point, yeah, until you get out there on the field and I see you run around, I'm not 100% convinced yet. You're going to have to show me that you're ready. Rusty says we can definitely make the playoffs in the NFC. Rams, 49ers, Bucks. Aside of those teams, nothing is a guarantee. Packers have no wide receivers and lost some defense. Is anyone really sold on the cards? Dallas is always overrated. Playoffs are not out of the question at all. Every single point he made, I concur. And I don't want anybody to get fooled. I'm not telling you we're ready for the Super Bowl yet. But if you get in the playoffs and you just happen to be hot, somebody happened to be injured, see Cincinnati. Look, at the end of the day, Cincinnati deserved to be where they were. They were the best team in the AFC playing at the end. But I'm just sitting here trying to tell you, it's not like people were picking Cincinnati to make the playoffs last year. If y'all remember, Joe Burrows was coming off knee surgery. Ain't nobody thinking about Cincinnati going to the Super Bowl. And all it took was a break here and a break there, and look where we are. It's not that hard, y'all. It's not. So when I hear the doom and gloom, especially from fans, it baffles me before the season starts because I'm saying, y'all, we on the same equal ground. There is nothing out there that says we can't win in the NFC. There are no juggernauts in the NFC except the Super Bowl champs. And again, I think, in my opinion, San Francisco, even without the services of Jimmy G, because their roster is deep. They have a deep roster. Now, I'm not saying throw a scrub at quarterback, but I don't think it's going to take. I don't even think you need a special quarterback for Frisco to win. They got to the Super Bowl with Jimmy G, average Jimmy G. They did it before. And I'll argue that their team was more talented this NFC championship they just lost than the Super Bowl they won. Not Super Bowl they won. The Super Bowl they lost to Kansas City. I'll argue San Francisco's team in 2000, they played in February 2022, was more talented than the team that lost in February of, 2020. Christian says, I believe we have a shot at the wild card spot this year. And that's all I'm saying, the wild card. The wild card is attainable, y'all. It's only take 9 wins. It's attainable. Rusty says Packers lost wide receivers and pass rushers. Packers are not as strong as we think they are. I think they're strong enough to beat the rest of the NFC North. That's why I kind of give them that nod to say they'll probably get in, because I don't think that division is that strong. There's nothing that scares me about Minnesota, Detroit, or Chicago right now. Skinny Man said that you call Buddy crab legs. That's good. Yeah. Hey, Skinny, you got to listen to me, brother. That's been my moniker for a long time since that Publix incident. But yeah, look, and he'll put up 5,000 yards. I'm not telling you. And look, Jameis had a nice start last year, keeping it totally real. He doesn't get hurt. New Orleans might do a little bit more last year, but Sean Payton ain't calling the plays this year, y'all. Different story. Sampras says, as long as they are in the North, they'll make it. There you go. Brother Ryan, how you doing, sir? Ryan says, I still say we can go 9-8 and make a wild card. Absolutely we can. Absolutely. 9-8 will get us in the NFC. I think the strength, the battle is going to be over in the AFC. That's why for some of the Matt Ryan hangers on, don't be so sure about that. The South may be attainable, but that AFC is tough. Shoot, the AFC West alone might be 3 deep if Russell shows up. But I digress. Back to the NFC. I think we're in good shape. Sequel says Jameis Winston and Super Mariota are in the same boat. They both got something to prove. Absolutely. And I go back to, I want anybody who's going to start for my Falcons to win. So if that's Eminem, that's fine. If he wins the job. But that's Ritter, I ain't mad at you. As long as whoever he puts out there game 1 is able to beat the Saints. And maybe that's Mariota. I know a lot of people are like, oh, you got to pencil him in because he ain't got to. Ritter comes out there and shows you some extra stuff. You let Ritter run the show. You're trying to win, man. This ain't about feelings anymore. We trying to win. Falcons, we 5 years into losing, man. Dang that. Give me the best option to win. And if that's Ritter, God dang it, if it's Felipe Franks. I hope it's not. But if it's Felipe Franks, give me the best option to win for the Atlanta Falcons. Christian says, plus Cincinnati's O-line was worse than ours last year and still made it. Preach, my brother. Preach. Joe Burrows was getting sacked 8-9 times every playoff game and still was a couple of seconds away from winning the Super Bowl. Still. But Deebo Samuels was in deep. Let me tell you something. Deebo ain't going nowhere. Deebo ain't going nowhere. If he was going somewhere, he probably would have went somewhere at the draft. Because they probably wouldn't have been able to get a lot more for him. He ain't going nowhere. Trust me. Christian says, one thing I'm looking for this year is our pass rush. I think Goldman is a good signing for us. And I like the fact that you're getting some more beef out there. And I know Goldman has a little bit of a motive. He hasn't had as impactful of a year as he has in the last 2 years there. But I still say you put him aside of Grady, and let's hope that Marlon is actually ready to break out and let this third season for him be this breakout season. If he can do that, folks, I'm telling you, man, it's going to make things a lot easier for Dean Pease. It really is. Ryan said he'll put up 5,000 yards and 30 picks. And that's the thing. He's feast or famine by far. Because he's going to he'll hit a couple of 50, 60-yard passes during the game. He'll do it. No doubt. But is he reliable all season? Saints fans going to hurt. Oh, man, he was 5-2 before he left and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we've seen that before. He started that hot at Tampa before, and that didn't go anywhere. And Dre says, Winston got his eye fixed too. Yeah, right. Nah, I know, but still. Nah, I need more than that, man. Brother RJ, what's going on, man? I don't care what the haters say. Falcons will be a competitive team and will fight for a playoff spot. I have faith in my Falcons, not Super Bowl ready, but we are a better team than last year. And let me tell you something, RJ. Not only do I agree with that sentiment, I'm going to ask y'all. Don't you want to, especially since we've, in the last 2 years, gotten so young, wouldn't it be impressive to see this team go 9-8? And I know you got some folks that, well, it ain't no use going to the playoffs if you're not going to win. I get that. And yeah, participation trophy. Yeah, I get it. Good for you. Beat your chest. But for Falcon fans who haven't had a winning team in this city for the last 5 campaigns, or 4 campaigns, I should say. I mean, I will take it. Listen, if Mariota shows that he can win a few games for us this year, keep the brother in there. If Ritter comes in and despite him being a rookie is able to lead this team to a winning season, leave him in there and let's go. I'm just sick and tired as a Falcon fan having to come on after every game and make excuses for another loss and another. It's the opposite of DJ Khaled. Another one, another loss. Just tired of that. Now it should be a freshness. Now Arthur Smith, and somebody put it on a post the other day, and I'm sure a lot of you saw it, where he was saying nobody should get a pass. Arthur Smith shouldn't get a pass. Terry Fontenot shouldn't get a pass for this team last year. They shouldn't get a pass. And, again, it goes back to the hardcore, well, yeah, every year you should try to win. Of course you do. I'm sure Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot weren't trying to lose games last year. Obviously not. 7-10 with this roster, I'm trying to tell y'all, is dang near as impressive as parting the Red Sea. But if you think about what they had last year and then losing Ridley, not going into camp thinking you had Ridley, Pitts, and Jones, and at the end of the year, Russell Gage was your best hope. I mean, they did quite a bit last year. I give these guys credit for doing what they did. Now, this year is the first, now that we've gotten rid of Matt Ryan, and I say getting rid of, not in a hostile way, but in a let's change the vibe way. Now that Matt Ryan has moved on, I'll put it more delicately for some of you who might not like those words. Now that Matt Ryan has moved on, and we have infused younger blood. Yes, Mariota is still, what, 28, 29? And Ritter 22, 23, or whatever he is, and a different style. And I'm not here to tell you an athletic quarterback is going to win, but at least it looked different than what we've been seeing. The great three-step drop, look around 2 yards, and then crawl and go into the fetal position. I'm just looking for something different, y'all. Something different. And that's all I'm talking about. Ryan says, the Braves swept the Nationals, and now we and the Mets lost today 2-0. The Braves are now 1.5 out of first place, and we start our 3-game series with the Mets tomorrow. Time to take the division. I'm trying to tell you, I was talking about this earlier, Ryan, and I was telling folks, as much as I love that we are just scorching hot right now, my hope is that we haven't peaked early. I don't think the way they have been playing that there's a huge concern. And especially, y'all remember we got the extra wild card team this year. But I am concerned about peaking too early. Love what Freed is giving. Love what Wright is giving. Love what Mustache is giving us out off of the mound. I know we have some rough spots with our bullpen. Kind of, Matzik is going to be all right. He just needs to get some more time away from the injury. He'll be fine in the next month or two. AJ will be fine. Get Jansen back. I'm a little concerned about that altogether. I was never a huge fan of that move, but as long as the guys get back, I think we'll be fine. Christian says, do you see Ritter getting to start do you see Ritter getting to start at point this season? I know it's too early to tell, but with training camp coming up, I know it's going to be a big topic. I am under the impression that is going to be an open competition. Mariota's contract tells you that it's an open competition. If you're paying Mariota to come in here and be your starting quarterback, Mariota is getting a 2-year, $45 million contract. We are paying Mariota less than some backups right now. 2 years at $20 million. I think he only gets like $7 this year, maybe $7 million this year if he hits the incentives. If I'm not mistaken, I'm almost thinking, I'll look that up real quick. But I don't think he's getting a whole bunch, y'all. Making me work, brother. Yeah, I don't think he's getting a whole lot this year. Let's go here. Marcus Mariota. All right, come on now. Of course, the internet want to act the fool right now. Marcus Mariota, base salary this year. Let me put it on the screen so we can look at this together. His base salary, if I do this right here so y'all can see too. Base salary this year is 1.75. Signing bonus was 2.5 this year. And then next year, and remember, we can get out of that this year. If we don't like what we see, we get out of it and only be a $2 million hit. If he pays next year, we'll owe him $9 million. I don't think the Falcons want him to get to that. I don't think they do. So I think the Falcons secretly, and I've said this before, I secretly think they're hoping Mariota loses his job. But I think they'll start the season with the best option. So we'll see. Let me scoot back up here. I'm sorry. Catch. RJ says our wide receiver core is way better than last year, and our defense is going to be way better. Our pass rush will be better. If you guys remember near the end of last year, aside of that horrific Saints game we played, to include the Buffalo game, we actually played some pretty good defense last year at the end. I know the results don't show it. You can't look at a 7-10 team and say great defense, but they actually had some bright flashes last year. So I'm kind of encouraged. Ryan says the Falcons need to get some confidence in the locker room, players, coaches, and management, and getting to the playoffs will definitely help, and it'll make them hungry to win. Most folks forget before MJ became MJ, he and the Bulls were manhandled by Celtics, Bucks, Pistons before they started winning chips. They had to learn how to win. The Falcons got to learn how to win. All 100% true. Kenzel, what's going on, sir? Say, I'm reading through the NFL rumor mill that Julio Jones could return to the Falcons. What's your opinion on that? Ooh wee, ooh wee. I think that ship has sailed, and I understand the nostalgia. I understand the him arguably being one of the top 3 or 4 franchise players here of all time. I get that. I think, in my opinion, Kenzel, and just keeping it really solid, I think we should have got rid of him before we even paid him that contract. I think there were signs, even with his production, I think there were signs that he was deteriorating. And I'm not here to tell you he might not be able to give you a 4-game flash or a 5-game flash. He probably could. Great athletes do. But I think unless he signed a contract that was super, super accommodating to the Falcons, I just don't see it. And let's keep it real. He got to put us through some, he put us through some junk in 2021. I mean, there are probably a lot of hard feelings behind the scenes. I'm not sure if they're going to sign that back up. Now, the only other thing I can think of he would come back is maybe we find out that the rift was between him and Matt, and maybe him and Matt didn't get along. Maybe. I don't know. But I wouldn't do it, in my opinion. Segwa says, I gave Smitty and DQ a 5-year window. Arthur Smith window hasn't started yet. He took the job expecting Matt Ryan, Julio, and Ridley. I'm halfway with you, with the exception of I think they took the job. You know why I think they took the job? I think the job because nobody else was going to come take it. I don't think you were going to get anybody that was ready to come to this situation. Remember, coming into taking the job, Arthur Smith and Terry Fontenot, we were in the minus $30 million. We were negative $30 million. We had Matt Ryan, who, yes, had another 4,000-yard season in 2020, but you can obviously see that he didn't have the same magic that he had a few years before. Julio Jones was deteriorating, and Calvin Ridley, yeah, you maybe thought he was on the up, but I think that window starts this year because he doesn't have Matt Ryan, Julio, and due to suspension, Ridley. I think you have to start the clock this year. And while I'm not still ready to put him on any hot seats. I do think the clock starts this year for Arthur Smith. He says, I think that Ritter will start, but that's if Marcus gets hurt. But if Ritter plays half decent, they'll keep him in the lineup. If Ritter shows any promise, they're going to keep him in. This becomes business at a certain point, fellas. You say, if you can get Ritter to win this job and have the ability to cut Marcus Mariota and either do one or two things. You either bring in a veteran free agent or have the luxury of drafting somebody else. Either way, your quarterback compensation stays low while you're building the outer parts of your team. You're building parts of your defense. You're building parts of your offense. You want Ritter to win this job. I'm not telling you that if Marcus Mariota isn't ready, if Marcus Mariota is ready, you let him play. But deep down, in their heart of hearts, Terry Fontenot and Arthur Smith says, I hope Ritter blows this roof off. Because that's the difference between playing Mariota $9 million a year and playing Ritter for these first couple of years $2-3 million. It's a big difference. I'm sorry. Here, say, we had to close that gap. Weren't like we were 11 games behind the Mets before Michael Harris was brought up. And I'm going to tell y'all something about Michael Harris. I'm glad you brought that up. Michael Harris reminds me so much of Jason Hayward when he came up. And that's listen, and I love Michael Harris is doing some great things. So by no means am I saying that in a negative, because Jason Hayward really was balling out when he first came. But I'm looking at this Michael Harris cat, man. He got a different look in his eyes. And I'm looking at that outfield. And him and Acuna can finally play his natural position over there. And if we can ever figure out that that left field, if we can ever figure that out, the Braves gonna have the best outfield in the game. They already probably have the best outfield with 2 of the 3 other guys in there now. But Harris is the truth. But you're right. Listen. I don't want everybody to get ticked off if we lose 2 out of 3 to the Mets. I don't want anybody to just lose their mind. Dude, we were 11 games back. Don't fret. That's the only thing. Let's get into this from here to the All-Star break. Let's get 4 wins this week. We can get 4 wins this week. That's a good way to get into it, y'all. Okay, let's go here. Let's go. Keith, what's going on, brother? Keith says we're going to be okay. I can't wait until training camp at the end of the month. My hope is that we'll get a wild card slot. Looking at the NFC, is very possible. If most of you guys seem like sensible people that come on here and talk about this stuff, is the NFC scaring you aside of 3 teams, maybe 4? It's really not. It's not a scary conference. Not this year. And it still doesn't guarantee that, doesn't guarantee anything. But there's not a scary team here. And so that's my thing. We're going into the Commanders game 50-50 to me. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, 3 points is the spread. If I see Commanders by 3.5, that means they don't think they're that much better. I'm looking at New Orleans. New Orleans is a 4-point game going into Atlanta. That's a deep deal because Atlanta home team usually gets 3 points. But is New Orleans that much better? Talent-wise, maybe. But again, I'm a big believer in coaching too. Is Dennis Allen really who you going to hedge your bets with? If you're New Orleans? I don't know. I don't know, y'all. Is that fair? RJ says, people forget that both Dean Pease and Arthur Smith said that they didn't implement their system because they didn't have the personnel to do it. Fast forward a year later in the offseason to get players that fit their scheme is a plus. They both said that this offseason they will implement the full scheme. So that alone makes this team better than last year's team. And RJ, you were probably listening to the same. If you remember Dean Pease, basically it was a little week or so, if y'all remember on 92.9 The Game, and Hugh Douglas tried to call him out for some stuff, and they had a little friendly back and forth, which, and Dean Pease basically said, I have to run this zone. I have to run this because these guys haven't picked up the defense yet. I have to run something for these rookies to learn, rookies and second-year players to learn, because they haven't grasped the defense yet. This year, he said already, he's ready to roll this year. They're coming after folks because people have grasped the system. They talk about Dan Quinn, and one of the things Dan Quinn did in Dallas is the same thing he did here. And this is not an intelligence thing, but they simplified the defense here when he got here in 15 and 16. Enough to where there weren't a lot of things they had to know. They could basically play to their strengths. He did the same thing in Dallas last year. I told anybody who wanted to listen last year, Dan Quinn plus a lot of young players is going to be an improved defense. Now, they showed their true colors at the end last year. But, yeah, that didn't shock me. That didn't shock me that they did well. And they will probably do well again this year. Lisa says, going to the Braves game tomorrow. Let's go Braves. Beat these Mets. I hope they do. Kenzel said the Braves just traded for Robinson Cano. Really? That's got to be a minor league contract, right? Oh, that's interesting. Hopefully he's better than what's the little and I can say chubby because I'm chubby. What's a little chubby dude they keep bringing out there to pinch hit? Excuse me. He's garbage. Every time I see him, I'm like, who is this guy? Comes out there and pinch hits all the time. RJ says, even with the little money we had, they built a damn good D-line centered around Grady. Terry did a damn fine job this offseason. My only concern is the O-line, but I think they will be better than last year. I have a little bit of faith that I think they are going to be better. I'm not saying substantially better, but better. I think having a quarterback behind you that might be able to move a little bit will also help you. Now, remember, sack numbers, if a quarterback gets hit for a 1-yard loss, that's a sack. So you're going to still see some sacks from Mariota, Ritter, or whoever. They're still going to get some sacks. But I'm thinking the offensive line, look, you can't get much worse than they were last year. So I'm going on your side, RJ. I think they're going to be better. Foster says, no, not even the top teams scare me after seeing how we played the Bills last year and the Chiefs the year before. This isn't the NFL of the 80s when you had San Francisco rolling, in the 90s when you had Dallas dominating, and the Bills dominated in the AFC for that matter. There aren't any of those teams. There was a thought that Kansas City could be one of those teams, but you saw last year there are a lot of flaws in KC. And New England had a nice little dominant role in the 2000s. But right now, even the Rams, I'm not saying we're going to beat the Rams. Now, let me make that clear. But I just don't think there's any, I don't know. It's just not a team that I look at and say, whoo, they ain't going to kill us. With the other teams in the NFC. Like I said, aside of Rams, 49ers, Green Bay, I just don't see any other teams that I look at and say, oh man, the odds are stacked against us. So that's what I'm thinking about the NFC. The other question that I wanted to pose to you all, since we were talking about that same thing, talking about the conference standings and things like that. Which team, non-playoff team in 2021, and that's for either league, do you think is going to make the playoffs? So let's look at the teams that didn't make the playoffs. Let's go to the NFC first. Let's take a look. From the NFC, you got, I'm trying to make this look, there we go. You got NFC, you got, oh man, I did not mean to do that. Let's try that. There we go. NFC, you had New Orleans, the Vikings, Commanders, Seahawks, Falcons, Bears, Carolina, Giants, and Detroit. So out of those teams in the NFC, which team do you think has a better chance, has a good chance of getting in the playoffs? Obviously, I think the Falcons do. If you look where the Falcons are, quite honestly, and we had such an awful record against the NFC this year. The NFC, our NFC games, we just were horrible. And if I'm not mistaken, let me see. I'm probably sure that 4-8 was our conference record. We couldn't beat NFC teams to save our life. Matter of fact, I think that was the Jets, Miami, I think, and Jacksonville. That's the way we got three of our wins last year. 8 losses against the NFC. But what teams do you guys see? I'm looking. That could help by looking at the teams that did make the playoffs. I think the Eagles are somebody that could be on the outside looking in. I think the Cardinals, with D-Hop being out, I think that's a big deal right there. So I would go, if I had a choice right now, I think the Falcons can slip in. And I don't know. There is something, and don't laugh, something real sneaky about the Giants this year that makes me, this is that last year for Daniel Jones. It is something that tells me they might be a little sneaky. I'm not telling you they're going to make the playoffs, but don't be shocked if they start playing some good ball this year. In the AFC, I flipped the script. This is a little easier in the AFC. The AFC, the Colts didn't make it. Miami didn't make it. Chargers, Browns, Ravens, Broncos, Jets, Texans, and Chargers. I think this is real easy. I don't think the Steelers, Raiders, or Patriots make the playoffs this year. I think your playoff teams in the AFC that's going to take their place. I think you're looking, I'm going to say it. I think the Colts are going to win. I think the Colts are going to actually win the South this year. thought this team was gonna be what Cincinnati was last year, that Charger team is tough, man. And that Charger team, look for them to bounce back and not only get to the playoffs, but challenge Kansas City to win that division. And I'm kind of at a toss. If Baltimore has Lamar Jackson back for the season, I think they could be that other team. But don't sleep on Miami. Tyreek Hill has made his way down there with his extremely large contract, so don't be shocked. Let's see. All right, Sanquan says it's a toss-up between us and the Saints. Yeah, and like I said, I don't want to totally toss out the Saints. I know I just said a lot of disparaging things because I don't like the Saints, but I also think the loss of Sean Payton, all kidding aside, I think that's going to be huge. But it wouldn't shock me if they made the playoffs. So I see you. I'm sorry, Eagles, Saints, and us. And look, don't dang, you changed 3 times. He said Eagles, Saints, Vikings, and us. Yeah, I can see the NFC flipping. I really do. Aside of the top 2 teams in the West, I think it's fluid. It also says the Colts and the Chargers and the Patriots are definitely going to the playoffs. Now, you know the Patriots made it last year. Patriots made it last year. So I kind of disagree with the Patriots. I think, man, I think that was a lot of smoke and mirrors last year. I think teams are going to catch up to the Patriots. I know I shouldn't go against Bill Belichick, but yeah, I don't know. Miami has a lot of talent on that team. And I don't know whether the Brian Flores thing is going to work against them or not, but I don't know. Yeah, Belichick. Yeah, trust me, I have no defense against talking about Bill Belichick because he's already shown me and the rest of the world that not only can he bounce back, he can bounce back quick, whether it be in a game or in a season. Yeah, I understand. There's something to me that I know they didn't unleash Matt Jones on anybody last year. They kind of stuck to their guns with the running game for the most part. But I just need to see a lot more of him. When Brady came into they kind of let the reins, they kind of let Brady do his thing. They're not letting, they haven't quite unleashed Matt Jones yet. And I think when they do, I might be a little bit more ready for. I think people will be ready for that run game this year against the Patriots. I think they will. But we'll see how that works. Yeah, they beat Buffalo in the snow. Remember, they play in the snow too now. So both of those teams, that kind of cancels out. I actually like in that AFC East. I like Buffalo, obviously, the way I think Buffalo may be the best team in the NFL on paper coming into 2022. I really like the Bills this year. I'm not going to lie to you. I think I like Miami. I think Tua has something to prove. I think Tyreek, who obviously made those comments about him being more accurate than Mahomes, which is a joke, but he has a lot to prove to say it wasn't the system, it was him. That was great. I just think they got a lot. What's my man's name? From Alabama receiver. Waddle. He showed flashes that he's next level. I think Miami's gonna be pretty good. I right now I like Miami in that division. I'm gonna go back here 1 second, and I'm gonna flip this to division, and we're gonna do this further in, but I just right off the shoot, I think they're gonna. I think. Let me zoom this in just a little bit so y'all can see. There we go. I still like the Bills in the East. I think Patriots will drop to third, and I think Miami will, as soon as I get this back here. Sorry, y'all. I think Miami will go up to second place in that division. In the North, I still like the Bengals. I like the Ravens, who are going to play a last place schedule this year. I like the Ravens to bounce back up to second place. If Lamar is completely healthy, maybe first. But the Bengals and Ravens will be the only team coming out of there. I think it's going to be Titans, Colts in the South, with the Colts maybe winning that division. And the AFC West, I think, is really going to be a dogfight. Don't be fooled by this Bronco team. This Bronco team was very similar to Atlanta because they really didn't have a quarterback and they snuck up 7 wins. Don't be shocked if that Russell Wilson addition not only puts them in playoff position, but possibly in a position to battle for supremacy in the AFC. Excuse me. Coming off right now, Chicago Cowboys. I said not because they're just super great, just because they're in a division that just is not that good right now. I kind of like the Cowboys. Eagles are definitely the second best team, but I think they were a player or two away from being below 500. So I'm not ready to crown them yet. Packers, way better than anybody in the division. I don't even think that's worth talking about. AFC South, again, I think it's the Buccaneers, and then everybody else is playing for a wild card. And I say everybody else, I think it's the Saints and us. And then in the NFC West, which I think is the most probably the second most competitive division. I think the AFC West is the best, and then the NFC West here. Still think the Rams have enough to finish the job up. Cardinals will slip. I think 49ers are definitely the second best team in that division when you start talking about it. There's no way that anybody that can predict injuries and things of that nature coming in. So I'm just here to say there is no guarantee that everything is going to lay out like it did. I was looking at our book right here. This is the first one I got, Lindy's. I actually got the Athlon book. I might go through that tomorrow with y'all. The Athlon, I haven't opened it yet and seen the predictions, but they're predicting 4 wins in this book for us. They're expecting us to finish below Carolina, who just got Baker Mayfield, which is very interesting. But yeah, I think we have an opportunity to win in this NFC. So don't be shocked. And that's really the crux of my conversation tonight. I appreciate y'all joining me. Y'all enjoy the rest of your Sunday. I have been sitting around watching some great Summer League. The Summer League is a little bit more entertaining than you think when you start looking at it. And because I'm not looking for superstars, but I'm looking for young guys that are just trying to, get their name out there. So I like it. So y'all, if you're just sports fans like myself and just want to watch some young men go out there and try to compete to be a 12th, 13th man on the bench, there's some pretty good play out here, man. Check us out. I know the Hawks play tomorrow night at 6 p.m. So just know that's getting ready to come out. But until then, man, listen, y'all take care, and we will catch y'all hopefully tomorrow. But one way or the other, we'll catch you during the week, man. This your Uncle Steve's Lounge. Please don't forget to subscribe. And all of you on Atlanta Bird Gang, we'll catch y'all later out. Peace.